Good morning, everyone. Am I audible and visible to all of you? Good morning, Sumad, Subham, Hemant, Saritha. I hope everyone is good, healthy, along with your families. Good morning, Sazil, Pooja. So, great. It's wonderful that everybody is fine. Good morning, Asu. So, we'll be starting from where we had left this lecture. Good morning, Ankit. We talked about the energy cooperation between India and UAE. So we'll be starting from there only, and we'll be focusing on some of the important aspects where both these two countries are cooperating with each other. So after energy, the next important component of this relationship is the economic cooperation that these two countries are sharing. So we'll be talking about economic aspect of the relationship between India and UAE. Okay, Asu, that's really pathetic, and I hope the departed soul rests in peace. And this is very unfortunate news that you lost your grandfather. But as a young guy, it is your responsibility to help your family, to stay with them, encourage them that wherever he is nearby the God and is at peace. So my deepest condolences. And take good care of yourself as well and family members. Be the strength to them. So we'll start with here, the economic aspect. So if we talk about the relationship, there is hardly any sector where both these two countries, India and UAE, are not cooperating with each other. So if we talk about the investment aspect, so government of UAE is investing in many sectors of India. They are investing in India. And there are several sectors where they are investing. Okay, a lot of sectors where they are investing in India. So it includes sea transport. It includes many of the aspects of the service sector as well. So the government is directly involved. Okay, Divam has a question, and I think there is some problem with this as well. So let me deal with Divam's question first, and then I'll see what happened to this thing. Okay. So Divam is asking ki yesterday the news of India, Iran was there, and this Farzad B was given to some local company in which India was a partner. And like we were discussing, that many of the projects that started in India, that started from India, is now not taking shape or was delayed. And amongst those delayed projects, the Farzad B was also an example. So what happened with this deal? What will happen? And good morning, Amit. So Divam is interested in this thing. How will it affect when this deal has failed? So at this point in time, it may not look like that it will have a big impact because this project was not operational. Yeah, good morning, Asu. So this, as this project was not operational, then we can say that it was not fulfilling the requirements that we are having. Okay? But this is a start. This is an indication from Iran that if India doesn't comply to what it has promised, then things are not going to be the same. Okay? So some of the other delayed projects either can be given to some local company, or maybe some bigger investors like South Korea or China even. Like there was once they had indicated that they'll be inviting investment for this Chabahar port as well. So the short-term repercussion is that India has lost a project, and India will protest about this thing, India will discuss this thing. But of course, in long term, it is the responsibility of the government of India to ensure that we do not fail to comply on things, whatever we are promising. It is a wake-up call from the investors, like India. Okay? For energy security, of course, India has plans of changing its energy composition to 40% to renewable energy. So of course will not be requiring that much in near future. Maybe 5-7 years we'll be moving towards greener energies. So petroleum, of course, today we are dependent more than 85%, but like we had already discussed that the role of Iran has reduced in the recent times, and some of the countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, they have taken the center stage when it comes to petroleum. So at this point in time, not a big loss. Now, Protyus has a question. What is, do vaccines cause any side effects? Very minimal, Protyus. As far as I am concerned, I do have some pain in my hand, but that is very minor. Some of the people get fever as well, but the prescribed medicine will take care of that. And in rarity, in almost amongst 1 million population, some people feel vomiting and all side effects. And rarest of rare is the issue of blood clotting. But it is so minimal that most of the people are preferring to get vaccinated. So if you want to get more details of it, every day it is coming in newspaper. So it is always good to better to get yourself vaccinated. Okay, so we were talking about this thing. Let me check what happened to this. Good morning, Mani. So we are talking about how UAE is directly investing in some of the projects in India and the sectors where they are investing. So we have service sector, power, construction, townships, housing projects. A lot of segments are there where they are investing. So, yeah, Mani, I took my first jab yesterday only. I was vaccinated yesterday. So everything is fine, Mani. Everything is good. And some of the private investments are also there. Some of the private investments, if we talk about, there is a lot of private investment happening from the side of UAE in our country. Okay. So we were talking about the economic aspect. So the other segments are construction, townships. So directly the government is involved. So and we know that these are one of the most powerful countries, most rich countries in economic power. Piyush, I got Covishield. It was only available. You do not have choice at this point in time. So whatever is there, get the jab. Amongst the three, whatever you can get, maybe Covishield, Sputnik, or Covaxin. Okay, and they are also investing in the power projects. So a lot of investment is happening, and the private sector is also involved, and they are investing in some of the sectors that are not taken care by the government. So private sector from private investment from UAE in India. So many of the companies are taking interest in Indian markets, and they are investing in our projects. For example, MR Group has invested heavily in Hyderabad. Okay, the MR Group there is some problem with this. Let me check. Give me just 2 minutes and I'll make sure that it works again. So the issue is being resolved, and let us see how much more minutes it takes. But till that time, what we can do is, I'll dictate and you can write, so that at least we do not have break in our writings. Like private investment I was talking about. So write MR Group, EMAAR. MR Group is a real estate company. MR Group is a real estate company, which has invested in food processing industries, which has invested in food processing industries, which has invested in food processing industries in the Indian states, which has invested in food processing industries in the Indian states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Madhya Pradesh, like Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Madhya Pradesh. Next para. The Lulu Group, Lulu, Lulu. This is name of a group of company. The Lulu Group, Lulu. The Lulu Group has also made investments. The Lulu Group has also made investments in many sectors, in states like Kerala, UP, and Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so this is a look at what UAE and their private investment is for India. And it is not like Indian companies are not interested in UAE. It is also a market for us. So Indian companies have also invested there. Okay, so write this statement. Indian companies were keen, KEEN, were keen to capture the UAE market, were keen to capture the UAE market, and and invested in the fields like, and have invested in the fields like, and have invested in the fields like retail, banking, education, retail, banking, education, food, etc. Retail, banking, education, food, etc. etc. Okay. Now, like next statement you can write about UAE was the first in the Gulf region. UAE was the first country in the Gulf region, Yeah, money, retail. Retail is RETAIL, retail. Okay. UAE was the first country in the Gulf region, to launch Rupee debit cards, developed in India. Okay. Developed in India. Rupee debit cards developed in India. And as far as money, you have marked a question mark. So retail is something, any goods that are sold in small quantities are retail. Wholesale and retail sale. So if there is a bulk quantity, it is wholesale, and retail means small quantities of the goods. Okay. So this is economic term that is that is used in everyday life, right? Wholesale and retail we always use. So this is the same meaning, no different meaning it has. Okay. And next statement, both the nations have signed double tax avoidance treaty, in the year, in the year 2012. Okay. So these are some of the aspects relating to economic cooperation between the two countries. Now we can talk about the defense aspect. Now the next heading is defense aspect. The next heading is Subham, I want you to check your volume because I feel like everybody else is getting my volume clearly. They can hear me. So please ensure that you check your volume. And if everybody is facing the problem, then I'll check. But at this point in time, it seems like rest of the people can listen to me easily. Okay, now we are talking about the defense relationship. And this, Shivangi, I think you must have read this thing in economy, but still I'll explain what double tax avoidance is. Many a times what happen is some product is uh, coming via UAE to India, let's say. So UAE is the first country which taxes it. Okay, Abhishek has confirmed that my voice is reaching to everyone. So Subham, please check your volume. So double tax avoidance agreement is like if something is being taxed in UAE, then Indian government shouldn't tax that. Okay. Many a times what happens that let's take an example of social security schemes of some of the countries. Okay. So maybe our diaspora is there and they are earning. So what that country is doing, they are taxing them. And when they are coming back to India, then we are also taxing them. And it is similar with the investments being made via that country. Many a time, third country uses the soil of one country to make investment in other country. So both the countries are taxing. So if you want to get into details of this, you need to revise your economic notes. I'm pretty sure that this could have been discussed in your economics lectures. The double tax avoidance agreement. It was in news 2-3 years back. It was always in news. Okay, so it was important at that point in time. So now defense ties. Why defense ties are important? Because we know that UAE has a large population of Pakistan as well. And many of the modules, terrorist modules operating in Pakistan use that country as a proxy to harm India. And India had many a times asked UAE to take care of these things. But there was a time when both these countries were not cooperating much. At that point in time, of course, its soil was being used against India for some time. But since we became one of the biggest trading partners of UAE, it has made a policy where it doesn't allow its land to be used against India. Yeah, Dhananjay, we had started with the same. Only one topic we have covered, one small segment of the economic aspects, and now we are talking about defense ties, defense aspect of the relationship. And now there is a clear policy. Now they have a clear policy, and this point I want you to write. And still this is not responding. I don't know why, but let's continue with the thing which we are doing. I'll dictate this thing. India has convinced, write it. India has convinced UAE. India has convinced UAE. India has convinced UAE to defeat Pakistan state-sponsored terrorism. Convinced UAE to defeat Pakistan state-sponsored terrorism. Pakistan state-sponsored terrorism, and to cooperate when it comes to sharing of intelligence, sharing of intelligence on issues like terrorism, drug trafficking, terrorism, drug trafficking, terrorist financing, and cyber crimes. And cyber crimes. So these are the aspects on which both the countries have decided to share the intelligence. Okay, so you need to focus on this thing. So both these countries are facing the problem of terrorism. So for this, we have also signed an MOU for joint defense cooperation. MOU, both these countries have signed MOU for joint defense cooperation. Okay, so both these countries have signed cooperation, joint defense cooperation. It's again not supporting. Joint defense cooperation in the year 2003. In the year 2003. UP, Puja, in the state of UP. Lulu Group has invested in UP as well. Okay. Now we can talk about diaspora. The next heading is diaspora. We need to talk about the diaspora. Are individuals residing there? Some of their citizens residing in India. And of course, you must be aware of this fact that many of the people from Kerala are residing in UAE. And as far as 30% of the immigrant groups are there, of the total population, whoever is residing from outside that country belongs to India. So you can note this. Point. The Indian diaspora constitutes almost 30%. The Indian diaspora constitutes almost 30% of the immigrant population. Almost 30% of the immigrant population in UAE. Of the immigrant population in UAE. Second statement. The number of residents from Kerala remains the highest in UAE. The number of residents from Kerala remains the highest in UAE. And like we had discussed, the same issue that was plaguing the relationship, the kafala system, We talked about the kafala system where the employer sponsors the employee and they keep the passport. We had discussed this thing yesterday. So mention that the kafala system exists in UAE, which is a cause of concern. The kafala system exists in UAE, which is a cause of concern for India. The kafala system exists in UAE, which is a cause of concern for India. Okay? And after diaspora, and the major problem is due to kafala system, our Indian population are not living a dignified life in UAE, and that is a big problem where Indian government has protested many a times that they need to change their ways towards our population. But the thing remains that we need the remittances and we cannot force them to do something. Okay? So now we'll be looking at the cultural aspect. The cultural aspect. So next heading is cultural aspect. The cultural aspect. So these cultural relationship goes beyond many years. Historically, of course, we had ties. But if we talk about some of the things that happened after independence, then these two signed a cultural agreement in 1975. Okay? So you can write this point. Both countries signed an agreement in 1975. Both the countries signed an agreement in 1975 to take care of cultural exchanges between these two countries, between these two countries. Okay? And of course, we know that they are forthcoming. And recently, 2 years back, when Narendra Modi ji visited UAE, their first Hindu temple was inaugurated. Okay? So this relationship has taken new shape. There were no temples in UAE, but when Prime Minister Modi ji visited that country, he inaugurated a Hindu temple, and that shows how UAE is giving importance to India. Of course, some of our cultural ties goes back. We have similar people who have similar faith, right? So a strong Muslim population, presence of a strong Muslim population in both the countries. A large number of people reside in India. So this connect was there. But as people from Kerala, from other states started residing there, so to show its secular credentials as well, there was a construction of a Hindu temple there. Okay? So this is all the relationship that we need to focus on this. This was really an important relationship. And of course, you have to upgrade few of the events, whatever you see in the newspapers about India and UAE. Now we'll be looking at an important relationship, okay, that is always in news. That of course is in news. So you need to focus on this. We'll be talking about few of the events between India, Israel, Palestine. We'll be talking about Hamas as well. We'll be looking at this aspect because the relationship between India and Israel cannot be seen in isolation. It has always to be seen with the perspective of Palestine as well. So whenever we talk about the India-Israel relationship, Palestine always has a dominant role. And as far as India-Palestine-Israel relations are concerned, we can clearly demarcate the policy of India into three phases. The first 4 decades, India was with Palestine without fail after our independence. Abhishek, yeah, such events happen, and it is a just coincidence maybe, or maybe some form of protest. So we'll not be focusing on that aspect. We'll see India, Israel, Palestine now. So I was talking about this relationship. For the first 40 years of our independence, we had a very clear policy that will be supporting the Palestinian cause. And after that, for 2.5 decades, we gave a mixed message to the world, right? It seemed at many places that we are with Israel. Few times we supported Palestine as well. And in last 5 years, India has a clear dehyphenated policy. We are treating these two countries based on the merit of each one of them. Like if you have read about the recent speech, that open debate on UN Security Council, when Indian representative T.S. Tirumurti was speaking, he was very, very clear that we are speaking on the merits. We are not favoring either Israel or Palestine, where India accepted that it seems that this problem lies with the approach of Israel, where it is trying to change the status quo, where it is trying to influence some of the areas which historically were important for both Israel and Palestine. But in the meanwhile, India condemned the initial attacks made by the Hamas. So we'll look at the aspects why India is doing this balancing act. Okay? Yeah, the two-nation policy, we of course believe, Devam, we believe in that. So we'll be talking about all these things. Okay? So let's start with how India came to this policy, the policy of dehyphenation, and how it were treating Israel from the beginning. Then we'll see how the relationships were with Palestine. And then we'll move to what is Hamas and why the approach of India is completely different from what it has with Palestine. Though both Hamas and PLO, Palestine Liberation Organization, were two groups who were fighting for Palestine. But we supported PLO and we never were in favor of Hamas. So why it is happening? We'll be looking at all these aspects. How PLO wanted a peaceful coexistence, how Hamas just looked forward to destruction. We'll be looking at all these aspects. We'll look into details of these because this topic is really, really important. Yeah, Devam, I'll be talking about, of course, India has helped that too. Their existence is because of the policies that India has followed. So it is not like only we are indebted because some of the times they talked about or helped us during Kargil war. Because these were the countries who were against India for a very, very long period of time. Okay? But based on the merits, based on the requirements that a country has, the policy framework changes. Okay, so let's start with, first we'll be talking about Israel, India and Israel. What was our policy? We'll be starting with this aspect. So, when these Jewish population residing in Israel were persecuted by Hitler in Germany, then there was a call for a separate place for these people, Israelis. And it is very, very important to understand why the Palestine was the place which was divided to give place to the Jewish people. If you are aware, this Jerusalem is a place which is religiously important for the Christian population, for the Muslim population, and of course, for Jewish population as well. There is a mosque called as Al-Aqsa Mosque, which has a wall that Jewish and Christian people call as Western Wailing Wall. And all of the fight has started for this place because this is revered by all the three religions of the world. No, I have checked. There is some problem with the board, I see. Yeah, Saksham, I understand. Of course, I understand, and I wanted to do that, and we'll be doing that. Don't be worried. The problem will probably persist for some time because I think there is some problem with backup. The generator is not in a position to take the backup, I guess. There is some problem, but it will be resolved most probably in a little while. So when I was talking about the time when Second World War was taking place and it ended, after the defeat of Germany, after the World War ended, there was a call for separate location for the Jewish people to re-establish themselves. Okay? So, even Mahatma Gandhi chose to join the chorus and he called for a separate relocation of the Jewish population. And if we look at mythology, Jews were the population who were serving the gods. And they say that God had promised them that they'll be given a place where they will be ruling for 4,000 years. Because the mythology says that they had served the gods for thousands of years. And as per the mythology, the place which was promised was around Jerusalem. It is the area where today we see Israel. Okay? So, this is the mythological context. Okay? So, with this claim and of course American support, Jewish homeland was created by dividing the Palestinian territories. And India was amongst the countries which voted against dividing Palestine to create Jewish nation. Though Gandhiji wanted it, that they should be given a place, but it was not at the cost of others. So India protested initially. In 1948, India was the first country besides the Arab countries, which was not an Arab country, to go against this decision. We protested the decision. So right, first was 1948, the first year. India, Israel is the heading, and the year is 1948. In 1948, India voted against partition of Palestine. India voted against partition of Palestine. India voted against the partition of Palestine. Okay? But Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru was very much convinced, as it has the backing of the most powerful country of the world. It is already an established fact that Israel has come into existence. So in the year 1950, India recognized Israel. Okay? So right, in 1950, India recognized Israel. India recognized Israel. India recognized Israel, but no diplomatic relations were established. India recognized Israel, but no diplomatic relations were established between these two countries. No diplomatic relationship was established between these countries. We recognized them, but did not establish any relationship. And things changed. In the year 1953, India established the consulate in Mumbai. In the year 1953, India established a consulate. India established a consulate in Mumbai. Though India was not much keen to have a relationship, but of course you cannot avoid a country which has backing of USA, and many of the countries of the world were recognizing it. So consulate in Mumbai. But of course, the relationship was very much cordial, and this consulate worked for providing visas to Jewish population, only for providing visas to Jewish population. And in fact, almost 85,000 Jewish people of Indian origin are still residing in Israel. Okay? So it was a pilgrimage site. So of course, a consulate was there which took care of the religious needs of the Jewish and Christian people. And they used to visit Jerusalem. And in 1982, relations deteriorated between these two countries. As Israel criticized Indian foreign policy. As it criticized Indian foreign policy. So this was the year when the relations deteriorated a bit, and the Consul General who was residing in Mumbai was expelled. was expelled. Okay, so it was the lowest point of this relationship in 1982. Even the Consul General who was residing in India was expelled. And again, things changed a bit. In 1988, the council was established again. The same council started working in 1988. Okay, so again, the policy of visas for pilgrimage, it continued. In 1988, of course, then there was a situation like we know, USSR disintegrated, and there was no need to be non-aligned because there was only one superpower. So since 1992, the relations started improving after disintegration of USSR. So this was a point, like I said, this is the year till where India has a very clear policy of supporting the for the statehood of Palestine. We were always convinced that Palestine can be an independent state. And this was a period, the relationship was based on deals. Still no full-fledged relationship. This relationship was based on deals, based on the requirements that these two countries had with each other, like the defense sector. Defense sector deals, we wanted to have some relationship. We established some relations in the field of research for science and technology transfer and all. And of course, it being an arid country, we wanted their help in agriculture because they have made a lot of effort and improved their agriculture sector. So the relationship grew between these two countries, but there were not any high profile visits, right? Nobody, no big names were visiting these two countries. But certain things then changed with the advent of Atal Bihari Vajpayee in this sphere, the political sphere. And as you know that BJP as a political party has Hindutva ideology, okay? And their ideology believes in the concept of a strong state, okay? So this strong state concept also believes that if some country tries to harm you, then you have to firmly oppose them and crush them. So with his advent, with BJP at political sphere, Lal Krishna Advani visited Israel. Okay? And this was one of the high profile visits. This was the time when a minister visited. Okay? He was the first Indian minister. Then Jaswant Singh. He was also a minister of foreign affairs, visited. And finally, in 2003, Ariel Sharon. Ariel Sharon. He was also called as Hitler Sharon. Visited India. So you can think a Jewish leader is called Hitler. इससे बुरा हो सकता है क्या? Hitler was the man who killed the Jewish people, but whole of the media, world media gave him the name of Hitler because he was very, very harsh towards Palestinians. So he was called Hitler, and India was the only country after USA which has allowed a state visit to Ariel Sharon. None of the other countries ever invited him. He was the Israeli PM, and he was not invited by many. Some of the military junta, of course, tried to invite him, but none of the peaceful countries invited this man to their country. So this was a time when the relationship is improved between these two countries. So relations were slowly improving. High-level visits ensured that. Then in the change of the government, and of course, UPA came to power. But here, as this was a phase when there was an open invitation to Ariel Sharon, our ministers visited. So the very next government tried to improve the things with Palestine. So the tenure of UPA government, one, okay, 2004 to 2009, they focused on Palestine, okay, and UPA too. The second tenure of the government, they also started with the Balancing Act, the policy of dehyphenation started taking shape. Okay? So both the countries were supported based on merit. Okay? We were not supporting either Israel or Palestine. Now this UPA 2 made sure that there is a balancing act. Though in this period we invited Palestinian groups to India, but we were not like supporting them. Then there came a time with Modi ji, of course you know, under his tenure the relationship with Palestine took a back seat for some time, right? And after PM Modi, 2014, there was change in policy. There was initial tilt towards Israel, and then the balancing act or the policy of de-hyphenation So when he came to the seat, he tried to make the relationship with Israel good because we were in need of their support. Now, if we talk about the most recent event, which actually is important, is an event in 2017. This year is important. This was the time when Trump administration recognized Jerusalem as capital of Israel. Okay, this was the time when they did this. But India was very clear. India opposed the resolution in United Nations Assembly. India didn't support this. And Israel was really shocked that after showing so much of closeness at the level of leaders as well, there were posters of Modi ji in Israel. Even recently, when the elections were being held, you have seen that Modi ji was really popular, and Netanyahu banged on that. But suddenly, India said that will not be supporting this thing. We are not favoring this thing. We want a status quo. And again, in 2021, there were 4 resolutions. There were 4 resolutions in the United Nations Human Rights Council's 46th session in Geneva. United Nations Human Rights Council's 46th session in Geneva. Okay, this is very important. Here what happened? There were 4 resolutions, and Israel was expecting India to support it in all the 4 resolutions. But India voted against Israel in 3 resolutions. In 3 resolutions. Okay? And this was a big move from India. The resolutions were right of self-determination of Palestinian people. Okay. So this was status quo means Hemant, the same situation, no changes. जो जैसा है वैसा ही रहने दीजिए. Do not change the status. Let it stay the way it is. This is status quo. The second resolution was on Israeli settlement policy. So India voted against the settlement policy. They wanted to settle some of their population in some parts of Palestine. India went against that. And third was human rights situation in Golan Heights. Okay. So these three things pleased what? These things pleased Palestine. Palestine gave us credit that at least India supported them. Okay. But there was one more report that could have harmed Israel. India abstained from one resolution, neither supported nor was against. So basically both the states were pleased. Israel was happy that India did not support Palestine. Palestine was happy that India did not go against Palestine. So this was basically the human rights situation in Palestine. There was a resolution on human rights situation in Palestine. So of course, the policy of de-hyphenation is very, very clear. What it shows, India is very clear, will not support any of you until and unless it is for the good of India. Anybody doing wrong will say you are doing wrong. If both the parties seem like at trouble, will stay neutral. And if somebody is very, very right, then of course India will be supporting them as well. Okay? Now the most recent event, note it fast, note it down so that we can talk about what I had started with, the UN open debate on the recent conflict. United Nations Security Council open debate and the policy of de-hyphenation is much more clear with this speech of Mr. T.S. Trimurti, who was India's permanent representative to the United Nations. And this basically debate was on escalating Israel Palestine conflict. Okay, so there was a debate where the member countries were supposed to give their views. India said, India is stressed that one should not unilaterally try to change status quo. So, with this statement, targeted Israel. Okay? The policy of de-hyphenation, very, very clear with this. The first statement India gave that nobody should try to change the status quo. Nobody should try to change what is already there. Palestine is existing, Israel is existing. So both should remain so. And the second thing is India condemned attack by Hamas. So, and very clearly, both together, again, what it is showing? The de-hyphenation policy of India. Nobody is getting support until and unless they have proved that they are not doing it wrong. So, in one statement, India gave clear message to both the countries that if any of the groups is doing wrong, our policy is going to remain same. So, in short, if we want to talk about this relationship, India, Israel, Palestine. So we can say that there is clear 4 decades dedicated to India-Palestine relations. There is clear 2.5 decades or almost 3 dedicated to this relationship. And now we have so it's pretty clear that India has understood that until and unless we keep both the countries separate, we cannot establish a good relationship with both the countries. If we support openly Palestine every time, Israel was going far from us. If we support Palestine every time, Palestine every time, Israel was going for. So de-hyphenation policy has surely given an edge to India in this relationship. We have achieved better balance with our de-hyphenation policy. Because if we tend to be more close to Palestine, our security needs can be compromised. If we try more getting close to any of the factions. So this is the relationship. The crux of this relationship is this. You can draw this thing, a small representation, and of course it will give a clear message of whatever we have discussed. Now we'll look at the relationship with Palestine, specifically PLO part. Then we'll look at how we had our relations with, how we treated Hamas, what role Hamas has. So for this, note it down fast. You can use this representation, the relationship, and use such innovative things in your exams. It will give you, of course, it will fetch you more marks. This gives a clear message, complete. Whenever you are writing such representations, of course, so that you have clear understanding of whatever policy the thing has, and you'll not be wasting many words. It will save you time. Okay. Now we'll see the location of the problematic areas, and then I'll move to PLO. Okay. So if you have closely observed the map of Israel, what you'll see, it looks like a dagger, right? It looks like somewhat like this. If you have clearly seen the map, a triangular shape, somewhat like this. If you want, this curve can be more. Okay, this is the shape of Israel. And if we talk about the problem areas, now the area which is the conflict point, this is the part. Yeah, Devam. Hamas is a terrorist organization, we'll see, that has not been declared as a terrorist organization, but they have done brutalities against not only Israeli people, but the other PLO as well, Palestinian Liberation Organization. And they were so fierce that people voted them to power out of fear. So we'll see, we'll discuss that, but I want you to focus on this thing now. Somewhere here, we have Jerusalem, the capital, Tel Aviv. And this is the zone which is known as West Bank, the area. This is which is inside. This is West Bank. So note it down fast. And of course, the neighbors, Egypt, Jordan, Syria. Okay. We have countries surrounding it. With Syria, we have, this is Golan Heights. These are the troubled areas. Okay, this is Golan Heights. And one of the most notorious countries in world to reside, the most number of people killed, Syria, very dangerous place. And here it has Lebanon. Iran fought them all. Okay? And Iran has a very dangerous, this Israel has lived really dangerously. In 1967, all the countries surrounding it attacked. And it is not like, and all the countries, even Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, all of them wanted it vanished. But anyhow, it managed to survive. And the enmity is so much that in 1979, USA anyhow convinced Egypt that it should recognize Israel as a country. The meeting happened, and the ruler of Egypt went back. He was killed there. Because why it even tried to recognize Israel? And when Israeli president was also killed, because the Jewish group was annoyed. They said, how you can ask a country which is an enemy to recognize you? Both were killed. So the kind of enmity, if somebody was trying to improve the relationship, they were killed. So this was a very dangerous time, and from this only you can understand how poisonous the relationship has been between these. Okay, so now we'll look at, you have seen the locations. Now we'll try to understand the relationship with PLO. With Israel we have seen. I hope everybody has drawn this thing. Specifically, we'll be looking at how we went ahead with PLO, because India always recognized that PLO is the rightful representatives. So, like we have seen, India since inception was in support. So in 1967 and 1973, so in short we'll see what 1967, 1973, Israel-Palestine conflict. India blamed Israel. This was a time where we are very clear that Palestine is the country which we had to support. The reason being, because we had seen the pain that this country was also divided on religious lines. India, Pakistan were divided and we suffered. Okay? And again in 1975, India declared India recognized PLO as sole representative of Palestinians. At this point in time, Hamas was non-existent. Hamas का कोई existence नहीं था. That you need to understand. Okay? Hamas was not in existence at this point in time. 1975. In 1988, and another important year, Palestine declared itself as an independent state. As an independent state. India recognized it. Even if the whole world was not ready to recognize Israel, India said that we will recognize Palestine. And Yasser Arafat, if you've heard the name, he was the one who had represented PLO for a very long period of time, up to 1994. So he was always received with warmth. He was always treated by India as if there is some state visit happening. In 2003, India protested against construction of wall by Israel. So when it was very, very important, whenever it was important that Palestine wanted India support, it were always there. In 2011, India supported Palestine as full member of UNESCO. India was the first country, in fact, which has pitched for a separate statehood to Palestine. And every now and then, whenever Palestine has called for this thing, we have supported. And as UN has not recognized as a state, in 2013, India supported Palestine as non-member observer to United Nations. As it was not fully recognized as a country. So of course, observer status. India also supported in 2015 to add India supported Palestinian flag in United Nations premises. So you can see that India is pushing Palestine towards full statehood. India has done it all. So India has, of course, supported it in many ways. So this is somewhat clear representation that India is supporting it. And in 2017, Mahmoud Abbas, the representative of Palestine, the ruler in exile, okay, was welcomed to India. But there was a long-standing support by India in 1988 when Palestine has declared its independence. It declared itself as an independent state. It was expected that Eastern Jerusalem is going to be capital of Palestine. But in 2017, when Mahmoud Abbas came, of course, we condemned the idea of Trump, like I said, that Jerusalem cannot be the capital of Israel. But India did not talk about Jerusalem as capital of Palestine. Okay? And in 2018, when our Prime Minister visited Israel, Modi ji did not visit Palestine. And it was the very first time that but not Palestine. So, of course, at this point in time, Palestinians thought that India favor mein nahi hai. But of course, like we have seen very recently, what happened? We supported the resolutions that were going against Palestine 2021, 3 resolutions against Israel. So, of course, if we look at the policy framework, neither we are pro-Palestine nor pro-Israel. We have a policy of de-hyphenation. Everything is clear till this point? Now we'll look at Hamas. Now we'll look at the militant organization Hamas that is not recognized fully as a militant organization by United Nations. It has not been declared because some of the member states have relations with them. And in Palestine, at this point in time, Hamas is a dominant group. And the two faces of Hamas, one which does the social service, has helped it. Like you know, that many of the organizations in Pakistan are involved in terrorist activities, and one face of them is like they are NGO or some social service, social party or some political party. So these things help them to avoid being recognized as a terrorist group. Okay, so we'll look at the Hamas so that you can understand the relationship in totality. The Hamas. They came to picture with riots in Gaza Strip in 1987. Okay, before it, they were just a faction of Muslim Brotherhood of Egypt. Okay, so basically they do not belong to the real Palestine design, right? This was a faction till then. It was a faction of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood. So basically, they were a third state funded terrorist organization. And when they came to picture, Hamas declared 3 agendas. Of Hamas. Okay, a terrorist organization, liberation of Palestine, when it came destroy Israel, rule whole Palestine. And whole Palestine means Gaza, West Bank, that is the Palestine of now. They want to rule that, and they want Golan as well. Golan. So they want to capture this. Plus, of course, you know that after destroying Israel, they of course want to rule that area as well. So they want complete command over these 3 areas. And since then, initially they were only helped by Egypt, as it was its Muslim Brotherhood was a parent organization. Since then, Syria, Jordan, and other antagonistic neighbors to Israel has helped this group. It has 2 faces. Okay, Hamas why it is not still declared as a terrorist organization. Only few countries have declared it as a terrorist organization because it has a phase social service wing. That is called as Dawa. So this is the phase which has saved Hamas from being declared as a terrorist organization by United Nations. But you must know that there are countries like New Zealand, Australia, who have already declared it as a terrorist nation. And it has a military wing. That is the real terrorist wing, which is named as Ij ad-Din al-Qassam. Ij ad-Din al-Qassam. Okay. So this is the military wing, and which is at this point in time involved with the conflict. The recent conflict is between these two. And whoever is supporting Hamas because of the social service wing. Some of the antagonistic countries, in fact, whole of the Palestine is not favor of this. You must have not heard of them. They all are against uh, Israel. But the real attack is not happening over whole of Palestine. And the government there, which is created. So they are only targeting some of the places in the Gaza Strip. And what they are doing? They are using small children. You'll see the news of children appealing. Of course, people are losing lives. But it is not only because of the Israeli attacks. They are so fearful that they cannot leave that part. And of course, many of the vested interest of many of the countries, the geopolitics of world doesn't allow these two countries to stay peacefully. In fact, we were talking about the Hamas. So you know that 2007 is an important year. Palestine was ruling this Gaza Strip peacefully. So Hamas snatched Gaza Strip from Palestinian forces. So this group was fighting the Palestinian forces. Till then, it was sending rockets to Israel, and they were sending rockets to this Palestinian forces as well. They killed many of the Palestinian forces to capture that area. And slowly became popular to capture government of Palestine. Okay? By using this or threat, they came to power. And since then, the problems have increased for Palestine. And Hamas have a very clear idea that it will not allow peaceful existence of Israel. Hamas is against peaceful coexistence with Israel. And hence, India doesn't even recognize Hamas as such. We have no clear intent. We don't talk about Hamas. Until and unless we have to talk about people who are being killed. India has no policy. Neither we have declared it as a terrorist organization, neither we recognize it as part of Palestine. No clear statement from India. New Zealand, UK, Australia, UK, Australia declared it as terrorist organization. Okay. UN has not declared it as a terrorist organization. It can be a statement in prelims. It is very important. In prelims, UPSC will ask that it is a recognized terrorist organization, then you'll say no. Some of the countries have declared, but it has foreign support. India has not given any clear standing over Hamas. In fact, the reality is India tends to ignore this Hamas. And the only reason India has to do this, because most of the common people, the common masses residing in India, are sentimental. Our Muslim brothers are sentimental that these people are being killed because they are Muslims. And they do not know the entire history that has happened. Of course, the Palestinian people initially were at loss that their land was, some part of the land was given. But at this point in time, this Hamas organization is not something which is actually fighting for ethos. In fact, it doesn't even belong to the area. It was funded by Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood. So, people from India, from across the world, are condemning Israel. But Israel is fighting for its own existence. And it is not actually targeting the innocent people. But if the population is being utilized as shield and they are always being bombarded, of course they'll retaliate and react. And for that reason only, you very clearly, everybody knows that they are not being attacked from the other side of Palestine. Whatever is happening there. And of course, some of the neighboring states like Lebanon, Jordan, were looking at this opportunity, were looking at some opportunity to decimate Israel, because they also have enmity with Israel. You'll study in world history that how Israel single-handedly defeated each and every country in the 6-day war that happened. And India has a very clear policy that until and unless the population is not harmed, will be supporting the cause. We don't want any human rights violations there. And now Hamas called for intifada, and this word is important because this word means rebellion. Or uprising. But the uprising basically revolutions. There was no call for such thing. They started, first attacks were done by Hamas, and thereafter, of course, we have seen that a huge loss was seen by the people staying in Gaza Strip. Yeah, Roshan, I think you have joined late. Very good afternoon. And if you have missed some of the parts, then you need to make sure that you go through the video so that you can understand. And rebellion, why this message of uprising and rebellion? A call for Muslim population residing in Israel to revolt. So this is what all the rulers who want to rule a place on any pretext do? They tell us, they tell the common masses that we are enemies, and people start fighting. But the political leaders, if you'll see, they are never at loss. So some of the clashes happened in Israel. Some classes within Israel. And things are getting difficult for the common masses. The common masses are always at loss. So this is the whole story that is important, that you need to know. It is everything whatever has happened. So I hope you're clear with this. Now we'll talk about India-Israel relations in particular, because it is a recognized country. So what are the things where we are cooperating, India and Israel? So this is all about Palestine, Hama, Israel. We have understood that. Now we'll look at some of the things which interests the common needs of India and Israel. Okay. We have seen the history of the place, we have seen the location of the place, and we have tried to understand what exactly is happening there. So I went into such a detailed discussion only to ensure that you have a clear idea, and if a question comes from connecting the Palestine, Hamas, Israel, or maybe the role of India, you'll definitely be in a position to write. Even if global powers are involved, you'll be in a position to write. Now, we'll look at some of the aspects. We can talk about some of the things which are common to both. So we'll start with geopolitical aspects. The geopolitical aspect, the situation, the geography of the region is Al-Aqsa Mosque is a mosque which is in eastern Jerusalem. It is also close to the Western Wailing Wall, which is important for Jews and Christians. So they both of them claim this area. So it is the conflict. Al-Aqsa is the demand of Palestine, and Western Wailing Wall is for Judaism. Okay. So geopolitical aspect, both nations have seen terrorist attacks sponsored by neighbors. So similar kind of situation where the neighbor is a troublemaker. The only why other Muslim countries are intervening, because they were always against the creation of Israel as a country. And that's what I said. You'll be reading in world history, the 6-day war and all. Because Israel has always survived by defeating the neighboring countries. And these countries believe that Jewish people are against other countries because they are Muslims. So this is the narrative. So they are against this thing. There is a call for Muslim Brotherhood, and they want people to support the cause of Palestine. And India, of course, supports the cause of Palestine. We have sympathy with the people of Palestine. But in any condition, it should not be like somebody is going to support the terrorist organization. Okay? So both nations have seen terrorist attacks and is sponsored by neighbors. Both have to secure borders at huge costs. So of course there is issues that are similar. So this situation of course leads us to the defense aspect of this relationship, as both are facing the same things. So the cooperation becomes easy. The defense aspect becomes easy. And we all know that Israel is supplying a lot of defense technologies and helping India as well. Israel has supported India on defending borders. Like someone had mentioned earlier, you can of course Kargil war. Israel supplied equipments. So this is a country which understands the needs and the threats that our country, India, is having. So they had given us precision guided bombs which helped us destroy some of the areas infiltrated by the Pakistan's soldiers. So lately Israel has become the third largest supplier of defense equipment to India. One of the largest suppliers. Of defense equipment to India. Okay. So we have many examples. In Hermes 900 is being manufactured in India with its help. We have Barak missiles, surface to air missile. So you can point some of the examples. We have unmanned aerial vehicles. So whatever comes in news, write that only. The examples should be always contemporary. You don't need to write everything. We have Falcon early warning system, and lot of things are there. We have also established a joint working group on terrorism. Okay, and you must be aware that their agency, Mossad, is one of the deadliest intelligence agency of the world, right? So we are sharing intelligence. So lot of things is happening when it comes to defense. And of course, both the countries are threatened by ISIS, Al-Qaeda. Such organizations are threat to both the countries, so we are cooperating with each other. And they are also very much Devam, these are of course popular, but not worth writing as a point. Okay, this points like honey trapping and all does fascinates your imagination, but it is like sporadic events that happen with each and every part, and sometimes some of the information is compromised, but most of the information cannot be compromised, because when it comes to security, there are no individuals who know everything. Okay, so do not invest your energy over such topics. They come in news, and of course it's very natural that some of the times we get attracted to such kind of news, but these are just few things that if you want, you can write a word, comma, honey trapping, comma, this and that. They are not important points that should be given even space as a whole statement until and unless suddenly UPSC thinks of it as a question. But it won't happen. Okay. Now we'll talk about cooperation in agriculture, the agriculture aspect. So agriculture. So Israel has expertise. It is in a desert, arid region, of course. So it has expertise in water preservation, water management. They are skilled. They have a skill in high yielding variety of seeds. That can yield more crops. They are expert of drought resistant crops. Okay. And Modi ji also talked about some of their technologies, the drip irrigation that they use. Drip irrigation. And they are also working on some of the genetically modified crops, but as GM crops are still seen with suspicion because they can have ecological consequences. So of course we are not much interested, but post-harvest technology, of course, we want that from them. Of course, we are interested. So these are the fields which interests both the nations. So India has taken help of Israel for creating centers of excellence for cooperation in agriculture. And it has been established in many parts of India. It is not like only one center of excellence was established. Israel made sure that it has established a lot number of centers of excellence for India. And there is one is, this is again it went. So you can write, the last statement was Israel has helped established centers of excellence, centers for excellence for cooperation in agriculture, centers of excellence for cooperation in agriculture. ठीक है? Now we'll talk about the relationship related to technology that exists between these two countries. So next heading is technology. And of course you know that when it comes to technology, we were discussing a few days back that most of the countries are not willing to give technology to India, right? So Israel is a country which is always willing to shift the technology along with their products. It encourages India to use its technology as well. So why we are more interested in having deals with Israel? Why we have reduced doing deals with USA or Russia, for that matter, when it comes to some of the defense deals as well? Because Israel is liberal about this thing. If it is developing some technology, then along with the product, it also sells the technology to the country. But it is a cause of concern for India as well, because Israel is also close to China. China is very close to Israel, and China has been investing in many things in Israel. So, and Israel is readily willing to transfer some of the technology to any of the countries with which it has a relationship. So, such things, of course, scare India some of the times. So you can write a statement, both India and Israel, the heading is technology, technology aspect, technological aspect. Both India and Israel are cooperating each other. Both India and Israel are cooperating each other, are cooperating each other in the field of information technology, biotechnology, in the field of information technology, biotechnology, and space technology, information technology, biotechnology, and space technology. Israel has a flexible, next statement, next line. Israel has a flexible export policy, and they transfer technology. They have flexible export policy and they transfer the technology easily. They transfer the technology easily. Okay. So this is really beneficial for India. Now we can talk about some other aspect of this relationship, like let's talk about education. The education, not much to talk about education, but still we have to recognize that it is a country which is offering postdoctoral scholarship to the students of India, and it is a big thing. So under heading you can write India offers various scholarships India offers various scholarships to Israeli students each year, and Israel reciprocates it, by offering postdoctoral postdoctoral scholarships to the students from India. Okay. So next heading is cultural relations. So we have to look at these some of the aspects of relationship on which you will be writing your answers. Nothing much complicated left to understand. Whatever was to understand, we had already discussed when we talked about the relationship between India, Israel, and Palestine and Hamas. So the next head is cultural relations. Cultural relations. So we were the country right in this cultural relations. We were the country who had given, we were the country who had given refugee to the Jewish population. We were the country who had given refugee to Jewish population when they were being persecuted, okay. Now India has given minority status to Jewish population in some of the states. Okay? Now, and like I was discussing, so I had told that a lot of Jewish population of the Indian origin reside there. So of course, we have cultural exchanges and all. Some of the festivities being celebrated. Now you can talk about the economic cooperation. And most of the economic cooperation is pertaining to defense only. And some of the technological things that we had discussed. So in economic cooperation, you can talk about the investments that has come from Israel. So economic cooperation. There is a lot of investment coming to India. Write it down. There is a lot of investment coming to India. There is a lot of investment coming to India from Israel, in the sectors like telecom, in the sectors like telecommunication, renewable energy, telecommunication, renewable energy, telecommunication, renewable energy, water technology, etc. Water technology, etc. Okay. So what we have seen is that, of course, there are so many things that concerns both the countries. Yeah, Saksham, you can talk about tourism aspect as well. A lot of people come to India. Israeli people come to India. Indian people go there. Okay, we can talk about certain these issues as well. And whenever we are writing about the relationship of India and Israel, Palestine automatically comes into picture. So you'll be talking about that as well. And today we have tried to understand what exactly is happening there. And I'm pretty sure that if you are now following the newspapers, you'll be in a better position to understand what is actually happening there. Why the Israeli state is taking such extreme steps, okay? Though it was from the side of Hamas that they started the thing. They started sending some of the missiles to Israel, and that killed around 12, 13 people. But since then, why Israel is doing this? Because we have seen, when I was talking about some of the historical perspective, I said that there was a time when Egypt, Israel were into talks, right? When USA was mediating. And the presidents from both the countries were killed. So, of course, the people out there hate each other the way we have been hating our neighbor, right? Whether India is winning something or not, whether Pakistan is winning something or not, the people from India always wished that Pakistan should get defeated if it is going into the finals, and Pakistan also wanted such a thing. So the antagonism that has emerged between these two countries has a shared history of bloodshed. And whenever there is a shared history of bloodshed, of course, the chances are high that only the governments of the day or militaries of the day shall not remain antagonistic. The people's sentiments will get entangled into it, because these are the people who are losing their loved ones, their near ones. And being such a small country, right? And both have lost members, forbidden the exchange of relations. So they are going to stay antagonistic for a very, very long period of time. And there exists Hamas, which has only one agenda, of destroying Israel. So the conflict is going to stay until and unless some mindful leader like Yasser Arafat again comes into picture. Okay? Because there was a time when it seemed that there can be a two-state solution, and they were looking forward to being recognized as countries and existing separately. But some of the mistakes done by Israel, when Ariel Sharon, or that who was dubbed as Hitler Sharon, made some of the mistakes which made PLO antagonistic. And since 2007, since 2006, when Hamas became more popular and started bombarding Israel every now and then, the situations have deteriorated. Israel tried to fix the thing by creating boundaries, by constructing colonies well within the territories which the Palestine claims. So it's really, really important that you follow this news. It is a very, very important news. So we have taken a lot of time to understand this relationship as well. And if any of you have any kind of questions, then of course we can discuss. But this is most you want. Ya Saksham, Israel-Egypt conflict over Sinai Peninsula. It was a time when both were fighting, and it has fought with all the countries that you'll be studying in your world history. Okay, you'll be studying that part there. Yeah, Proteus, the people residing in Palestine, most of them are of Muslim origin. And like people living in Israel are also Muslims. Like if you talk about Pakistan and India, we both have composition, but majority of the people residing in Israel are Jewish. And some of the people residing there since ages are residing there. And they try to stay in harmony. Whenever your neighbor is of any religion, you'll be, until and unless some fanaticism is created, you'll always have cordial relations with neighbors. But as the creation was based on religion, so of course there is going to be conflict. And I hope that all of you understand that why India's position was there, like we told. We had religious lines for our own bifurcation. India going full clear on Palestine or Israel can bring the issue of Kashmir as well. So we do not do that. We are not going to talk openly because we are very much dependent for energy on the neighbors of Israel who are antagonistic to them. And of course, we have to take care of the sentiments of our own Muslim population as well. Okay? So it has to be the duty of the nation to make sure that we take steps which creates good relationship with each and every country of the world, and we can stay in a cordial relationship with all. So I hope I have tried to clear each and everything related to this topic, and I'm pretty sure that if any of the question arises, you'll be in a good position to write even an essay on this topic, right? So this is the time when I end this lecture. And I'll be more than willing to take your questions if you have any. Else we'll end this chapter here only, and we'll be starting with some new topic the other day. So take some rest, revise things well. Try to write few of the answers. It is really, really important that you try to write some of the answers. Okay? So have a great time. Take your lunch, take some rest, focus on your health. Okay? So we'll meet tomorrow and we'll discuss some other country. Yeah, money. We have exported some of the defense equipments to Central Asia. We are doing that. Some of the countries like Kazakhstan, we do that. And of course to some of our neighbors as well. So we'll see that part as well. Okay? So I hope all of you understood everything. And some of the problem was with the board, but still we have managed pretty well each and everything which was related, which was important. And luckily the board was working, and we saw the diagram as well. So we'll start with rest part of the lecture tomorrow. Have a wonderful time. Stay healthy and get yourself vaccinated as soon as you can get a registration done. Okay? So stay blessed. Good afternoon.